Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Breslov Efrat here in New York. I'm sorry, Chevra. I had to take a trip for both personal reasons and business reasons. Baruch Hashem, the shir goes on. You know, the world says, the Welt says, the show goes on. We say the shir goes on. And here we go. So we're in Likutey Halachos, and Baruch Hashem. Again, we're recording this year. It's on Zoom. I put the Zoom link in the group, but I'm also going to be recording it. We'll send the video in so that way everyone can participate. Okay, here we go. So we're in the Likutey Halachos with Siyata D'Shmaya. Today we're going to continue our learning in Hilchos Tzitzis. Today we're in Halacha Hey. Okay, and we're starting letter Gimel 3. All right, so now let's just to review. We were learning this idea that the Tzitzis is the Chut Shel Chesed, and the Chut Shel Chesed is the string of Chesed, and that string of the Chesed is connected to the 72, the Ayin Beis, the strings of the harp of that's going to be sung in the time in the time of Mashiach Tzidkenu. Chevra, any moment, it's going to be any moment. This is going to happen. So this idea, and we said that the Tzitzis is 72. Okay, let's review for a moment. How do we get 72? All right, so we have each string. We have 8 strings on each corner. Right. We start out with 4. We fold them over. Right, and we know that each of the floor is shazur. So we know that we learned it has to be at least doubled. So each string is doubled. So every corner has 8 strings, which is 8 is really 16 because each string of the 8 is doubled, so you have 16. Now you have 4 corners. So 16 times 4 is 64. And then if you add 8 for the 8 strings, for the 8, just 8. Okay, so 64 and 8 is 72. All right, 64 and 8 is 72. And that's how you have on Tzitzis 72. All right, so just to review that. All right, so now we're going to say today. And then we said that's the idea of the Tchelis and the Tzitzis. And we said that the whole idea of the Tchelis and the Tzitzis is to recognize the Tachlis. And that's the Tcheles. And the Tcheles is the whole idea of the 72, connected to the Chesed, connected to that Chut Shel Chesed. Ki Tcheles kusaya didina. Because Tcheles is what? Is the seat of judgment. Which is compared to the Kisei Adin. Okay? Now, we know that we're always trying to sweeten judgment. That's our thing. We're hamtakas dinim. We're trying to be mamtik din. And how can you be mamtik din? You can be mamtik din with chesed. You can be mamtik din with chesed. You can be mamtik din with the rachmanis of the Rabbeinu Shalom. And when you connect to the tzitzis, when you pick up those tzitzis, and you understand that the tzitzis is taking me out of my mokim, whatever mokim I'm stuck in, wherever I feel I'm stuck, it doesn't matter. Those tzitzis can raise me up lemala min mokim. I could be higher than mokim. I don't have to stay stuck. When I understand that, and I understand that the 72 is the chud of chesed, which is connected also to the parsha this week, which is the parsha when HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe Rabbeinu asked him, "No, what am I going to tell them? What am I going to tell them when they ask me who sent me?" And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, "Ekya asha ekya." I'm ready. I'm prepared. I'm prepared to be. This is what it's all about. This is what it's about. So then, when I take these tcheles and I understand that, so I can catch on to the din, and I can be mamtik the din. The same thing that we learned with the challah. On Shabbos, challah is the chesed, and with the salt is the din. And I take the chesed and I dip it into the salt. I'm mamtik the dinim. Same idea. The Zohar HaKadosh says it's kusaya the dina, that the tcheles shebetzitzis ki tcheles ubechinas kusaya the dina. It's all chesed, but really it's all chesed, but this chesed is the din. This is connected to Yitzchak Avinu. Yitzchak Avinu is tzchoik, ki tzchoik, like tzchoik, and laughter, because Yitzchak Avinu understands that really the chesed, really the din in the world is really truly chesed. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does everything mamish for our good. Kol ma'da ovid rachmanu l'tav ovid. Hashem does everything for our ultimate good. And this is what we always have to remember, Chavra. We need to always remember this. So he says like this, and this is, and therefore the tzitzis, they can be ma'ayra, they can awaken the tzitzis, the koyach of nigun. The tzitzis can awaken the whole thing of nigun. And what's the idea of nigun? Nigun is to bring a person to tshuva. A nigun brings a person to tshuva. A good nigun. David HaMelech says, we say every morning in Mizmor L'Sadi Yiril Hashem, Ivdu es Hashem b'simcha. Ivdu es Hashem b'simcha. Ivdu es Hashem. Serve Hashem with joy. Serve Hashem with joy. But Rabbi Nachman says, sometimes the day is not going so good. Sometimes things are not on track the way you wanted them to be. But how is it going to be simcha? How are you going to have simcha? Bayu lefana birinana. Start up a nigun. This is the end. It's the safe of the pasuk. It's the end. There's a comma. Ivdu es Hashem b'simcha comma. Bayu lefana birinana. Start a song. So the whole idea of the tzitzis, we're learning here, Chavra, is the tcheles. The tcheles is the kusaya de dina. It's the din, but the din is chesed. It starts through the nigun. This is the song that's going to be sung in the future. This is going to be the song that's going to be sung in the future, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu will show every single person that everything that you went through in your life will show you how that was mamish for your ultimate good. Even though when we're going through, we don't understand it. But we have to believe it. We have to mamish believe it. And how can we believe it? We can believe it if we connect to our tzitzis. Now he says, Shu b'chinas hachut shal tzitzis nimshach b'bechinas hatfila b'bechinas din. So the tzitzis, the chut of the tzitzis, which is the tcheles, is drawn from what? The bechina of tfila, bechinas din. You have to daven a tfila b'din. What is a tfila of b'din? That's the tefillah of the tzaddik, which is the Baal Koyach. The tzaddik is the Baal Koyach. What does it mean the tzaddik is the Baal Koyach? The tzaddik has a lot of power. Why does the tzaddik have a lot of power? Because the tzaddik knows how to daven, even if there's in a time of katnas. He understands how to stand. He understands how to be with the Rabbeinu Shalom, with the akshonas. He knows how to be with the Rabbeinu Shalom, to be an action, to be very, very, very strong-minded. He knows how to fight the war. He knows how to fight, and he can go and he can fight so much so. He can go into the goyr, and he can go into the throat of the sitra acher. He can, with tefillah b'koyach, he can go into the throat of the sitra acher, and that he's trying to swallow up, and he can take it all back. You can take it all back. He can cause the sitracha to throw up everything he swallowed. He can cause him to throw it up. All the meichen vadash that the sitracha he swallowed up from the person. This is what the tzaddikim can do. This is what tzitzis can help us do. Daven a tefillah b'koyach. And then through this we can bring more covet to the Rabbeinu Shalom. And it could be and then bringing more covet is awakening more shir, more song, more nigun of the end of time. And he says over here, I hate the Torah now. As it says in the Torah that we were learning Likutey Maran, this is the bechina of the chut of the tcheles. This is what understanding the string of the tcheles. And this is what the kusaya the dina. It's mamish the kisei adin. You mamish grabbing onto the kisei adin. So we're learning chavod that when you pick up the tzitzis, you connect to the kisei hakavod. But not only can you connect to the kisei hakavod, you can connect to the kisei adin. You can connect to the kisei adin, and you can show the Rabbeinu Shalom through nigun that it's all you, Hashem. And when you reveal that all of the din in the world is really Hakadosh Baruch Hu, that's how you mamtik the din. And you can do that all through the tefillah, the tzitzis. This is an aspect of bechinas atfila, bechinas din. This is when you daven. And we have to remember this. We have to always daven to the Rabbeinu Shalom and not think, the Yetzer Hara always wants us to believe, what are you accomplishing with your tefillah? What are you wasting your time? You're davening so long, and what do you actually see? Do you see any payers from? Do you see any pay? Do you see anything coming out of your davening? Do you see anything coming out? What are you gaining? And that's what the whole point is. Yes, I'm gaining because I can cause the din. I can cause hamtokas hadin. He says now, Shemisham nimshach ikat tzitzis shem bechinas chut shel chesed, and that's how you can grab onto the chut of chesed. That chut of chesed helps me understand that the din is really not din, that the din is really chesed. Now he says, now we're going to see something very interesting. We're going to study two psukim now that we say every Friday night. And we're going to see the most beautiful words. Look at these words. From Mishlei, Shleima Melech. V'zeu hanigan shemisayra adei atfila bechinas din. This is the tefillah that a person can awaken through the din. Look at this. Who would ever have understood that these tzitzis that we're wearing, these beautiful strings, the tcheles, is connected to this pasuk here, bechinas mashe kosav, oiz v'hoda levusha v'tischak liyoim acharoin. The beautiful Breslov niggin, oiz v'hoda levusha v'tischak liyoim acharoin. Oiz v'hoda, oiz, power, hodar, beauty. Levusha is enclosed. We're talking about the levush. What's the ikar levush that we have is our talis. The ikar levush is the tzitzis. And what with vatitzchak liyoim acharoin. And that last day, on that day when Mashiach is going to come, on that day, we're going to see that everything was really chesed. All of the trials and tribulations that Klal Yisrael went through all of the years, it didn't make a difference. We'll see then, and we'll know then. We'll have joy and laughter at the end of time. This is the levush that's called oiz v'hadar. The tzitzis is oiz. Oz is strength, v'hadar is splendor. Because the tzitzis has both of these aspects to it. It has the power. It's a mighty tool. The tzitzis is a mighty tool, but hadar. But it's also beautiful. The tefillah is called the mata ois. It's the staff of a strong stick. Tefillah is a strong stick. This is what tefillah is. Tefillah is a strong stick. And this is the tefillah of the tzaddik that stands in the throat of the sitra achar. And he takes out and he goes in, that's a tefillah bedin. He goes into the throat of the sitra achar. And he takes out and he causes the tzaddik to regurgitate, to spit up everything, to vomit everything he took back from us. And we could take it back. And this is what we're saying. That's why tzitzis is called the levush. The tzitzis is the levush. It's the levush. It's the levush of ois. It's the levush. The levush of hadar. It's mamish the levush. And now it says this is the levush al yedei zeh. Through this, when the sitra achar he spits up and he gives back all of the tefillah that we didn't daven and we didn't put the right kavanas in. And we didn't put the right kavanas in. But when we do that, and we can dive into the Rabbeinu Shalom in that way, you could be nigdal, you could add. We add more covered, more honor, and more hadar to the Rabbeinu Shalom. Why? Because he gave back all of those tefillahs that we didn't have, that we lost, because we didn't daven with the right kavanas. All those times we just davened and we just said the words. We said the words so lifelessly that we said those words that we didn't put the right. We didn't even think that we're standing in front of the Rebbeinu Shalom like it says in Shulchan Aruch. Shivisi Hashem lenegdi summit. All those times that we're davening and we're worried about the time and we're worried about this, that, and the other thing. All those times. So the tzaddik, when you daven a tefillah b'koyach, and all of us have the koyach in us, we can do this. We can daven this way. If we take our tzitzis and we take it to heart, because the tzitzis has an idea of being the mata ois. It's a staff. It's a staff. You can use that staff to bang the sitrach over the head. You could bang him over the head and then make him open his mouth and put your hand in there and pull out everything that he stole from us, that he stole from you all the years. You could take it back all through the tzitzis. And that's how you'll add covet to the Rabbeinu Shalom. How can you add covet to the Rabbeinu Shalom? Because all of those tefillahs now will be lifted up. All of those tefillahs will now be where they're supposed to be. Oh, I'm telling you the most beautiful words. Oiz v'hada levusha. Wow. This is the idea why the pasuk is together. Oiz v'hada levusha. Why is oiz v'hada levusha? Why is that the levush? And what is that? The hainu tzitzis. The levush is the tzitzis. Because the tzitzis causes the revelation of the grandeur and the honor of the Rabbeinu Shalom. It's through. How does it do that? And that's at the end of time we'll have that joy, that laughter, because everything will be brought back to its own where it belongs. But we can do this every day. We don't have to wait to the Yom Achron. We can make today the Yom Achron. We can make today the Yom Achron. Daven to the Rebbeinu Shalom a tefillah b'din. Oh, wow. V'zeh remez al bechinas hanigun, the nigun. And this is the nigun that's going to be sung, also that's going to be sung in the future, also b'yom achron, on the last day of Geula. Oy chevra, any moment. And that day, she'oz, it'll be on that day, Yemalei schleik pinu ul sheineinu rina, like we say in the Shira Malais. Oz Yemalei schleik pinu. Then, at that day, at the time of Mashiach comes, Oz Yemalei schleik pinu, the laughter of our mouth, the laughter that's going to be in our faces that we'll see, that'll be in our expression in our words. Ul sheineinu rina, and our words will be rina. It'll be the song of rina. Rina is when we do tshuva. When we do tshuva to the Rebbeinu Shalom, we sing a song that's a serious song, because we see that we know that the Rebbeinu, because on that day we'll know the Rebbeinu Shalom. Oh, wow! And through the nigun, right? It'll help to raise up the what do you call it? The teva, because they will understand that Elikim is gematria teva. But we'll understand that there's no teva. It's really the Rabbeinu Shalom. And because at that day, that day is going to be the song, any moment. And this song by itself, which is what the hot tzitzis, the strings of the tzitzis, is drawn from where? It's drawn from the strings of the kina. That strings of the kina of the 72. Again, how do we get to the 72? We said that each corner of the tzitzis has 4 strings that are doubled, which makes the 8. And we know that the 8 are shazur, that the 8 are doubled. They have to be twisted together. And if you look at your strings of your tzitzis, you'll see they're not single strings, they're twisted. So that means each one of the 8 strings is really 16. And if you take 16 times 4 is 64. 16 times 4 is 64. And then if you add 8 for the 8 strings of the tzitzis itself, to remember that it's tzitzis, because we want to remember that tzitzis, you take 64 and 8 is 72, and that's how we have the connection. That's how we have the connection from the tzitzis to the strings of the kina, the 72. Tzitzis through tzitzis, which is what the tzitzis is a tefillah b'koyach. The whole idea that tzitzis is davening with that koyach, which is an aspect of davening with tefillah b'din. Bechinas ois v'hada levusha. You daven to the Rebbeinu Shalom ois with strength, v'hada levusha, and the splendor of the garment that you're wearing, and through this we will awaken the nigun of the tzitzis that's going to be vatischak liyoy machroi. Because he says now, Reb Nosson says so beautifully, because through Yizke lahashir shalasit shu bechinas haschoik v'simcha, through meriting the song of the future, of the end of time, of the time of Yemaisa Mashiach. On that, liyoim achroi, shu bechinas haschoik v'simcha sheis oire machmas is galus anhogas Hashem. Why? Because then we're going to see, it's going to be known, we're going to understand, we're going to see the hisayrus of the anhogas HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the mala me'aderech hatevetz. Everything is higher than teva. Oh, Sasha, how are you? Wow. Welcome. Bechinas oz yemalei schaypina u'sheinenu rina. Okay, now the Rebbe says like this. Now Hashem Malach Yeyes Lovish Hashem Ois. We say this every Friday night. We say this the Shir Shel Yom Shishi of Friday. We say these words: Hashem Malach Yeyes Lovish Hashem Ois. Hakadosh Baruch Hu has His strength. He's enclosed in His strength. So what is that? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants of the end of time, that the Rebbeinu Shalom will have this guy, that you'll see the greatness of the Rebbeinu Shalom, and then we'll understand good, that the whole idea of the strength of the Rebbeinu Shalom is to show us His koyach, and we'll understand that in such a beautiful way. Let's get the next page. One moment. Hold on here. Okay, here we go. We're doing it. Here we go. All right. Okay, here we go. Levush ois ze bechinas hatzitzis shenimshach hayedei hamata ois. That's the levush ois. What is that? That's through the tzitzis. That the tzitzis is the mata ois. What is the mata ois? We said that the whole idea is the 72. It's the kursaya dedina. That's when we grab onto the kisei hakavod. We could grab on actually to the kisei hakavod, the kisei avdin. We could grab onto the kisei adin, but we do it with the 72, with our tzitzis. And when we grab onto the kisei adin, we can be mamtik the dinim. We can be mamtik the dinim, and that's the tefillah of the tzaddik. And then a person can daven a tefillah bedin, and then he can go into the he can attack the sitra acha. Because he has power and strength, and through that he could be you could all get through this. It could be megala through the tzitzis. V'lachein ikar levush, and therefore the main or of the levush, the main light that comes out of the levush of tzitzis is the strength. Hazeh yiskala la'asid. It's going to be revealed in the future, at the end of time. She is Gala Malchusai B'Bechinas Hashem Malach Geyes Lavesh, and this is what's going to be over there, and it's the way it's going to be, that the Hakadosh Baruch Hu's Malchus will be Malavish Begava. What is the Gaiva? That will all recognize the Rebbeinu Shalom, will all recognize the Chesed of Hashem, and will mamish know that Kol Mavet David Rachmana Latav Ovid, will mamish know it and will feel it, not just say it, but we'll experience it. As I lovish Hashem ois, and Kodesh Baruch Hu wears the talis, and we learned that the Kodesh Baruch Hu gave over the Yud Gimel Midas Erachimim. He put on a talis. This is what Chazal tell us, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu put on the talis. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu has the tchelis as well. This is what Chazal tell us. Oh, ki oz yimolei, ki oz b'malchai la'asid. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's rule in the end. As I yasir yisa hashia hazeh. This song will be sung. Shu b'chinas levush v'ois. It'll be a song that'll be a levush. It'll be a garment of power. And we said that the whole tzitzis is the garment of power, because it's connected to the 72, and the 72 is connected to the song, the nigun of La'asid Lavai. That's going to be on that kinar from that harp, that beautiful harp that's going to have 72 strings. 72 strings, unbelievable. 72 strings on a kinar. Could you imagine how big that kinar has to be to have 72 strings on it? Wow. But that's we're connected to that. We connect to that shear, to that kina, with our tzitzis. And this is what we're saying here. We'll finish over this. This is the chut shel chesed. This is the chut of chesed. The tzitzis is the chut of chesed. And the chesed can mamish nip the din right in the bud. You could use the chesed, you could use the chesed to nip it into the din into the bud. And we said again, that's like, I'll just say it one more time, just to review, that's the challah on Shabbos. We take the challah, which is the chesed, which is the tcheles, which is the tzitzis. And when do we do it? We do it to take the challah, we dip it into the salt. We dip it into the salt. The salt is din. So this is the same idea. We're taking the tzitzis, and we mamish go to the kisei hakovid, and we understand it's Yitzchak. It's Yitzchak tzchoik anoichi, tzchoik, laughter. Why is Yitzchak laughing? Because Yitzchak knows that the din of the Rebbeinu Shalom is not din. Yitzchak understands that the din of the Rebbeinu Shalom is really chesed. He understands it's chesed. This is going to be what we're going to learn in Mitzvah Hashem in a few more weeks. We're going to start learning about tefillin, and we're going to understand the difference between Rabbeinu Tam tefillin and Rashi tefillin, and why we put on the Rashi tefillin first, because the Seder Parshiyos go in the order of chesed, and then it comes to din, and then we go to din, and that's why every Jew puts on the Rashi tefillin, and we make our brachas on the Rashi tefillin. But we don't make a bracha on the Rabbeinu Tam tefillin, right? When you put on the Rashi tefillin, you have in mind to put on the Rabbeinu Tam tefillin. You don't make the bracha on the Rabbeinu Tam tefillin. And why? Because the whole idea, the Seder Parshiyos is rearranged when it comes to Rabbeinu Tam, and the din is before the Chesed. The din is before the Chesed. And Rav Nosson explains so beautifully there that when a yid lives his life, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives him chesed in his life, and he sees beautiful things in his life, and then comes along a little din, so then the person can think back, and he can think of all the good things that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for him. And then when the din comes, he can stomach the din. He can stomach it. But if we started our life off and it was just din, only din, then it would be very, very hard for us to see the chesed, that really the din is chesed. But that was Yitzchak Avinu. That's how Yitzchak Avinu was able to go to the Akedah. He was able to go to the Akedah, and he told his father, tie me down really well. I don't want to have a mum on me. Why? Because he said it's all din. He understood. This is all the chesed Hashem. What do I care? I'm in this world. We're only in this world for a short time. We're not in this world for eternity. We're going to be in the next world for eternity. This world, we're in the world, whatever we're in, how many years we're here. But we have to understand that this world is just a preparation for the next world. So the whole idea of the tefillin is to understand that the Rabbeinu Tam tefillin is the din, but the din is really chesed. That's the whole idea of the tzaddik, because the tzaddik knows how to daven a tefillah b'din, because the tzaddik can grab onto the tefillah b'din, and he can attack the sitra achra, and he can go into the throat of the sitra achra and have him throw up everything that he stole from us. He puts all the crazy ideas in everyone's head. He puts it in our head, and he makes us forget that we're davening to the Rabbeinu Shalom. He causes such a bilbul in our mind, a bilbul adas. But the tzaddik, when you daven with a tefillah b'din, you could mamish go into the sitra achra. You could take back from the sitra achra everything he took from you. And how do you do that? You grab onto the tzitzis, because the tzitzis is the ois v'hada. The tzitzis is the power, and it's the splendor, because the tzitzis is the most beautiful garment that we have. It's the tikkun al-levushim. That's the tikkun for all of our garments, is the tzitzis. And when we connect to the tzitzis, we're connecting to the kisei hakovod, like all the lessons that we learned. But now we're learning even further now. You can grab on more than just the kisei hakovod. You can grab onto the kisei of din. You can grab onto the kisei of din, and you can be mamtik the din through the 72 strings of your tzitzis. How do you have 72 strings? We went over that, right? The tzitzis is 72 strings connected to the 72 strings of the heart of the Asid Lovai. And with this, we'll end off today Gimel, and I thank everyone for joining. Any questions? Any questions, guys? Any questions?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay, all right. All right.
I will listen to it again.
Okay, very good, very good. And David, thank you guys for joining. And I'm going to post the video for the Chevra Emitz Hashem soon. Everyone, Kol Tuv will meet the same time tomorrow with HaKadosh Baruch Hu's help. Okay? Kol Tuv, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Okay. There we go.